Hi everyone, good evening, and thank you for coming in this nice spring evening. My name is Saul Bazanfar. I was recently elected by precinct committeeman of this township and for this district to be nominated for the vacancy of Ken Harris to represent District 4 at the Will County Board. And I'm also seeking your support for running on June 28th of general primaries. So let me begin. I'm a member of Will County Board, and also I serve on the Forest Preserve District of Will County as a commissioner. I serve on the Land Usage and Development Committee. I serve on the Finance Committee and Diversity and Inclusion on the Will County Board. On the Forest Preserve, I serve on the Operations Committee. For Jackie just introduced a lot of elected officials here, and I'm proud to say that I have been involved with each and everybody's campaign in the last 6 years of my association with the Democrats and the Bolingbroke and all the township people. So whether it be walking on the parade with the tortoise with the pathway, or protesting at the golf course with Jackie and other members against you know what, or notarizing the entire township slate when they were forming the caucus to run that, and notarizing a lot of my friends like Al, Daryl's petitions. So I've been involved with the township. I've been involved for almost 6 years now, and I'm proud to be calling myself the foot soldiers of this party and of this township and the city. As far as my election is concerned, I have a few things that are very close to me, and that's what I'm going to support in the county board during my time, whether it's end of this year or if I get a chance to serve the full term. The main points that I'm looking to support is, number one, is the infrastructure. That is a major issue with the entire county. Modernizing the infrastructure will definitely help boost business and economy of this county, and that is a big need of the people. Second is access to healthcare. So I would support any policies that is brought in front that will help create more access for the people, for the community health. I will also support any policies that will make the accountability and transparency on the board and other elected officials strong. And so yeah, these are a few of the key policies that are very close to me, and I'll be working with other board members and learning about it. The job is very intense. There's a lot of paperwork. There are 300, 400 pages of agenda that we have to go through, and I cherish every moment, and I'm very honored to be given this opportunity to serve that. I look forward to serve on for the full term, and excuse me, it's my first candidate forum, and I apologize about my thoughts are here and there. A few other things that I wanted to talk is, before a lot of us here, especially the part of District 4 or the new District 10, we have a chance to elect from 4 very wonderful people, and the choice is not who you like or who you don't like or who you're friends with or who you're not friends with. The choice is who is the best suited among us to give a very tough fight and keep the position in the Democratic Party for the November election. So with this, I would like to and a little bit about myself and give a chance for you to ask any questions if you have. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions now?
You want me to say my name, or is it okay?
No, you can just.
We, as residents, we need more for the youth to do. So I would like to know, what would you say about backing an athletic center in the bowling for the youth to have something to do?
Oh, that is a very good plan, and in fact, I forgot to talk about it. That was the one that I was missing. So yeah, I had a discussion with Dorothy, and
We know you haven't eaten. So.
no, And we also had a discussion with the mayor of Bolingbrook to kind of see how we can do. So I mean, as far as county is concerned, that we have mentioned, it does not, we as a county board, I do not have the power to assign any funds or anything, but there is an American Rescue Plan Act and there is discussion going on. So I'm going to try and see if we can get some funds allocated for this project, and this is what I will try to do, and talk with the board members and see if they see. But I will try to push definitely to get some funding for that project, because I think someone with 3 kids, I know with this extended winters how important it is to have a youth center or an athletic center where our kids can, use the facility throughout the year instead of waiting just for summers.
Next question. Any more questions? No more questions? Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Elna Lynn Costa. Y'all know me mostly as Elle. I'm a Filipino-American resident here in Bolingbrook. I've been here in Bolingbrook for the last 15 years. I've been raising my children here. My oldest daughter had graduated from Bolingbrook High School, is now graduating from Loyola University. That applause means so much to me because I had her, I was pregnant at 16, and I had her at 17. And I want to make a human connection here on what struggle actually looks like, right? And our ability to surpass struggle. And so it was not easy for me, one as an immigrant, one as a single mother who was raised as a single mother, to defeat odds, right? And to be able to make it to the point where I graduated from college the same year my daughter graduated from kindergarten, right? And to be able to do that and lead a very successful career to the point where I am now the fund administrator of SEIU Healthcare Illinois Benefit Funds. And if you're familiar with SEIU Healthcare, SEIU is the largest healthcare unit in the Midwest. They serve 90,000 healthcare workers across the state. I provide healthcare benefits to 20,000 of those service workers, specifically those in the nursing home industry who was hit extremely hard by the pandemic, as we all know. So I saw death, I saw despair, I saw vulnerabilities. Home care workers, child care providers. These are the people who are taking care of our elderly and of our children. And my work here is to make sure that as the union works to ensure they've got fair and equitable wages, that we provide them with the benefits that they deserve to, be able to go through life. I also oversee a pension fund. And pensions have a bad rap here in Illinois, but my fund is 112% vested. And I'm proud of the work that I do, so I know that I've got the fiscal responsibility to make decisions on economics, to make big decisions that affect people's lives, right? And this work for me is serious. And I've been doing this work for a very long time. I've been with SEIU now for 14 years. I traveled to Indiana to help turn that red state blue and purple with SEIU for Obama. And I am just really excited now to be able to put my leadership experience to work in my own backyard. Last year, many of you know, I ran with Bolingbrook United on that ticket for village clerk. It was a really tough fight. We had 3 parties that split apart, the votes here in Bolingbrook. But boy, did I make connections with the community. And it felt so good, and it has been so warm for me to hear the response of our community members saying, Elle, you should run again. And I didn't come to this decision fast. This wasn't quick for me. I prayed on it. I talked to my family. I talked to my support system, many of who are in this room, before I made this decision, because I'm not going to go into anything half-baked, right? And so my commitment here is to be able to take the recognition and that I've earned in this last election cycle to be the highest vote-getting candidate on the Bolingbrook United ticket, and to bring that forward to be able to serve on the Will County Board. I know that make my mama proud, and I think it'll make the residents proud too. To have a woman of color to be in the seat. I have been serving for the last 6 years as treasurer of the Illinois Democratic Women of Will County. So to see women progress in leadership seats and at tables that they've never had access or opportunity to before is so critical and so important and ingrained in my bones. You know, some of my life values, my family homegrown values is integrity. What you see is what you get. I'm going to keep it real with you. If I can't do something for you, I'm going to tell that to you. If I can do something for you, I'm going to put 110% to make sure that happens. It's service. You see it in the line of work that I do. Listen, I do not have to run for office. I've got a good career. I've got a family that loves me. I've got a community that I feel secure in, but I want to be able to do more because I didn't get here alone. I got here because it took a village. Because my family, my community rallied around me when I was a teen mom to be able to get my education. And hell, I am still paying for student loans right now, right? But it is possible, and I want to be inspirational. I want to give opportunity to others. And so me earning a seat at the table is just the start to have others behind me come forward. And that's what I hope to bring. Thank you. Seconds to spare.
That was 5 minutes.
Good job.
Yes. Sure. Costa is my last name. C-O-S-T-A. Yes, done?
El, is there anybody that's currently on the Will County Board that has managed a pension fund that you're aware of?
That has managed a pension fund? I don't know, but I'd like to be the first. I don't know the answer to that, but I'd like to be the first. Others?
Any other questions?
Yeah, Brittany.
What would you, do you have any ideas for the youth moving forward? Like for our older youth, I mean, you have children that are older now, and they're going to progress out of the smaller children's age, and where would you see them in the future? Where would you?
That's a really good question. I know this is important to you because you are the commissioner of our park district. It's important to me too because I'm a mom and I've got kids all sorts of ages, 6, 10, and 21. And so what my hope is, what I think I can bring to the table is bridging and unification. And I would like for the Will County Board to be able to integrate more across all levels of government, right? So municipal government, state government, and be a conduit to make sure that we have access to resources. And you know, we do have ARPA dollars now that Will County is allocating and is dispersing. I have a passion for healthcare, and I think that during the COVID pandemic, our children were disadvantaged. In so many ways, because of going to school at home, the lack of socialization. I'd really like to see an opportunity to fund more around the All Our Kids program through the Public Health Department in Will County, and ensure that we do more development testing for our children, right? And we identify where there are additional support and resources needed around mental health programs, and then outreach and other, programs that we can collaborate with different organizations like the Park District, and to identify, for me, I'm a data-driven leader. So we need to understand where the needs are, to look at the data so that we can funnel them in the right places.
Yeah, it would be helpful, I believe, if we could either hear the person asking the question or maybe reframing the question so that everyone could hear it.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
We'll do that next time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions? Going once? Going twice?
Okay.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Daryl Parks, for those of you who don't know me. I am a 24-year resident of Bolingbrook. My wife and I moved out in 1998 from the city. I came from the south side, she came from the suburbs. I didn't have any children in Bolingbrook School District, right? But I certainly paid for everyone else's. I'm retired. I spent 22 years working for Local 134 IBW. And I spent another 12 years working for everyone's favorite electric utility. The point being is that I've seen the union side and I've seen the management side. I work both sides of the fence, so I think I have a pretty good cross-reference for that. When we talk about Will County Board, obviously, I would be a new face. I call myself a seasoned yet fresh face, right? And I know that the next county board meeting that I'm a member of will be my first. So everyone had a starting point, right? So one of the things that I can commit to, a couple things I'm going to commit to, is going to the meetings, being at every meeting, being totally involved in the committees, looking to see where I can help the constituents of the village of Bolingbrook, because the new 11 is all Bolingbrook. So I think it's important that we maintain and reestablish the ties between the county board, the municipalities, and the states. We're all chasing the same resources, we're all chasing the same people, so why not just sit down and figure some things out and not be adversarial, just develop a partnership, because that's the best way to do it. I believe in accountability. It's hard to get me to commit, but when I commit, you got me. You got me. Good luck trying to get me to commit, though. Right? But once I give you my word, I'm going to stand by it. When we talk about the needs, you talk about youth and needing youth resources for the youth and R3 committee. You know, Bolingbrook has a huge R3 area. Reinvest, restore, you know what R3s are, right? Funding for those things can come from the county. They can also come from the mayor's office, which is why I can keep saying that there's no reason why we can't partner up, right? Put things aside, sit down at the table, and work things out for everybody on both sides of the aisle, right? Both sides of the aisle and both sides of our Democratic aisle, because we got one of those too, right? Who am I kidding? But the one thing I want to leave you with again is, if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. It's just going to get done. That's who I've always been. That's why I was successful as an electrician, believe it or not. Successful as a project manager for Commonwealth Edison. And I do have a part-time job with a firm called Premier Engineering, but it's truly part-time. I work from home and 8 hours a day, and 4 o'clock I turn my computer off. And unlike my previous careers, I don't take work home with me, although it's going from my living room to my family. But I don't take it with me. But I just think it's important that we make sure that we are communicating. One of the things that I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but this is my first commitment. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. You will get some kind of quarterly blog, letter, something from my office for District 11 as to what's going on. You will get that. So people always know what Darryl Parks is doing. I can't speak for everybody else, but you know what Darryl Parks is doing. So I think that's enough. I'll stop and entertain it. How much time do I get? Questions? Come on.
Okay, let's go. Questions. Come on.
Yes, ma'am. Would you stand up and state your name, please?
Dorothy Andrews. And my question to you is the same as I'm asking to all. Where do you see the youth in this community? Where do you see them progressing? What can you contribute to that as a Will County board member?
You mentioned a community center. I think it goes beyond the community center, right? That's a building that will take people, young folks, give them something to do after school. But I'm more strategic in that approach, right? Young people need a purpose, right? And the purpose is not a bad idea, but I'm saying the purpose has to be more than I'm going to go to this community center afterwards. The community center has to have programs. It's not all about recreation, right? It's about further education, continuing education, right? Because I think that's what we're lacking. We're coming out of it, maybe going back into a pandemic where my grandson lived with me while he was virtually in school. And, I'm listening. I have one ear on and listening to what was going on in the classroom. And I can tell that, well, we all know that's school kids. Like, being in person trumps, sorry. Bests anything else that we can do, right? So it's important that our kids get that one-on-one, that one-on-one training. But a community center is a great idea, but it's not just the vessel; it's what's inside of it that needs to be worked on. So a building with no substance is, a house is not a home. There's no one there. Luther and Bruce. Any more? Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
Darryl, hi, it's John
How are you?
Connor for the camera. One of the things that I think was most exciting recently was Joliet getting Lion Electric, and obviously we're looking towards renewables in the future. And it seems to me that you kind of have a unique background to approach that with having worked with electricity.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself fitting in if you're on the county board with the plans to bring the county into the 21st century?
Great question. I see myself at the forefront because I have the experience, right? I work for a utility that is pushing solar energy that's going to put them out of business. Let that resonate for a second, right? So then we had to decide, because I was on some of those management teams, right? We have to decide what's the best way to manage that. The first thing is identify it. So the infrastructure will still be in place, right? And it will have to be built up because not everybody needs an EV charging station in your garages, right? That's work, that's job. Don't try to do it yourself. Hire an electrician to do it for you. Right. But that means the infrastructure has to be built out. I'm going to say this. You got storms and tornadoes on the East Coast. You got wildfires and all kind of crap going on the West Coast. Where do you think companies are going to come? They're going to come to the middle. They're going to come right here in the heartland, right? So we have to be able to have a conversation with our local farmers who have the acreage, right? And make sure we don't push them out. But at the same time, we have to have a structure in place so that these companies want to come to the Midwest. And I'm talking jobs, and I'm going to keep saying strong union jobs. I'm a union man, always have been, and always will be.
Another question?
How much time do we have left?
5 minutes?
Okay. So you were one of the few people that showed up to the steps of the Will County Courthouse when Rachel Ventura offered her resolution about how the cannabis tax dollars should be flowing back into the community that were impacted the most by the war on drugs.
Yes.
And I know that it did seem to have become sort of a political football and then it just sort of died, but I am sure that the amount of money that's been piling up is in some kind of a fund. And I wonder what your position, and I would ask the other candidates the same question, what is your position about the money that should go back to the communities, which could impact your question about youth? Because Bolingbrook did qualify as an R3 part of our community, and I haven't heard much talk about it since the early days, so I was wondering where your head's at.
Well, that's a good way to put where my head's at. The push to have the funding from the cannabis sales tax kind of died on the vine. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that. This is not the forum to talk about that. I mean, we can have a conversation offline. There's a lot of people in this room know exactly what happened. The first thing I would do, though, is make sure that my constituents understand the process to apply for those funds, because it's my understanding they're just sitting there right now. They're just sitting there. I hope they're collecting interest. They're sitting there. There's no plan that I know of to disperse the funds, which means I'm not going to just let money. I'm just not going to let it sit there. If there's no plan, I'll come up with a plan, right? And I'll try to fight it through. But we have to make sure that if you want to have a rec center, then a proposal has to be made and sent to the county board and push your elected officials to bring these things to the floor. Don't be embarrassed to bring it to the floor. Stand up. Hey, this is what my constituents want to see. How can I make it happen? If it's half on the county board, half on the village board, let's sit down and have that conversation. But to your point, it's just sitting there because I don't think anyone has ever really pushed the envelope. Don't know what they're afraid of. The money is there. It's free money as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
You know how much money it is?
I don't know, it's over $1 million, 1.2, 1.3 million. It's I'm sorry?
It's close to 2 million.
It's close to $2 million, right? So, and it's growing every day. It's growing every day. So
Budgeted.
budget. Thank you. And my fear is, if it doesn't get spent on cannabis, you're gonna look up one day and it's gonna be gone. That's just my fear. I could be wrong. Okay, nobody else is checking.
But the
Hold it. Anybody else have any questions first? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, well, that's all right. The original cannabis money was supposed to be devoted to the people most impacted by the war on drugs. And so I think that's an important component of that legislation. And I don't want to see it get diverse,
Yes,
dispersed
Yeah.
Diversity.
to a million different places
Yeah.
that does not impact the people most impacted by the war on drugs.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and again, the county board is ran by your representatives. And these are things that we need to let them know, whether I'm sitting there, or Jackie, or Saul, or El, whoever's sitting there, let them know, this is something that we want to bring forward. I'm not going to just let it down the line, I'm not going to let it disappear, up in puffing, up in smoke, no pun intended. But we can't allow, we just cannot allow that, we can't allow that to happen, we just can't. We just can't. So keep everyone on their toes, not just our, but everybody, keep on their toes to make this happen.
Any other questions?
One more.
Right. Daryl, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's nice to see a room full of people again. It's nice not to have to be dealing with Zoom this evening.
There you go.
So welcome. Elle and I have a lot in common, actually. I started out in a similar circumstance, was married at 16, first child at 17. Had to work very, very diligently to survive that, what I call youthful indiscretion. But I came from a home where my parents had mental illness. And so it made things particularly rough, not only as a child, but then later as an adult. And it was a struggle, and you learn a lot when you have to struggle. And I think Elle can agree with me on that. I fortunately found my way after a period of time to working for a labor union. I worked as an organizer for over 23 years, where I helped organize the EPA in Chicago, the Heinz Veterans Hospital, and Jesse Brown Veterans Hospital, the medical professionals there. I worked with people from all over the country. I traveled basically from Boston to Guam, believe it or not. I even went to Guam to organize workers because that's one of our territories. It was a very interesting experience. I'm a very customer service oriented person. I like to help people. I like to help them help themselves. So much so that when at one point there were some political things going on and I thought I was going to lose my job, my future father-in-law and I started our own company. Some of you may know. We owned a residential cleaning business for about 19 years. When we sold the company, we had over 600 customers that we serviced every 2 weeks, and our sales were over $1.5 million a year. So it was a nice company, but it was time to say goodbye. And my husband went on to going back to his first love, which was cooking. And by that time, I had retired from the union, and that's how I got so involved here with the local Democratic Party. I'd always been a member since 2005 and been working for Democratic candidates since 1995. I too traveled to many different states to work on campaigns, and whether it was for president or whether it was just for a local state rep, that was just part of the work that we did. And so when I found the Democratic Party here, it took a few years to get them to call me back. I got involved right away and very quickly recruited to run for office. And I ran for the county board and lost my first race, ran again and won. It was the highest vote getter in the district. Our district actually is going into its third iteration. Originally it was northern Bolingbrook and southern Naperville, and then it became the eastern part of Bolingbrook, and now it's expanded to include all the way out to Kings Road for the new County Board District 11. As your county board member, I've done a number of things that weren't asked for me to do. In fact, after Trump was elected, we held a resistance fair. I don't know how many people here remember that. I know Charlotte does. We held a resistance fair at the Holiday Inn to give people an opportunity to find out groups they could get involved in. I held a healthcare forum that was chaired by the former president of Joliet Junior College, J.D. Ross, where we talked about the need for healthcare. I've held a pension forum to talk about the problems with the state pension program. By the way, the Will County Board pension is in wonderful shape. It no longer exists. It's not open to any new board members, but the pension plan itself was in wonderful shape because it was managed by IMRF. And they have done a fantastic job of managing pensions here in Illinois. I also held a forum on the county's infrastructure, the need for the upgrades and improvements that you now see. We have built a new courthouse, a new sheriff's facility, emergency management agency, animal control facility. a health department, and coming soon to a theater near you, a new morgue. Gotta get a little kids there, though, right? It's frequently pretty easy stuff, but sometimes there's some tough questions that come up. And you sometimes have to make decisions that don't make everybody on the board happy. I can think of 2 instances, Fountain Materials here on 111th Street. They were crushing concrete, and they had all the residents come and complain and talk about how horrible this was for that community. But that community moved there after Fountain Materials was there. And it was a tough call to look at all those residents and say, hey, sorry, but they were there first and they have the legal right to do this. Same thing with Lenny's gas station. There's some tough decisions that you have to make when you're on the county board, and you have to face up to the voters. And I will continue to do that. All right, are you done hanging over there?
No, not really, but hey, listen, you know, I didn't do it, you did it. Okay, questions?
Nope.
Come on, somebody, okay.
Come on, Dorothy, let's go.
I just wanted to see where you stood as far as someplace for the youth to extend. Because we've pretty much outgrown a lot. We have a lot of athletes that have come from this community that have gone to NBA and NFL, and we just want to give them more resources. Where do you sit? Because you're sitting on the board now, so I can ask you a little bit more. So where do you see that? Where do you see the future for that?
Well, we have divided our ARPA funds into 5 pillars. That could go into a couple of different pillars, actually. I haven't seen any formal presentation yet, but that's probably in part because we haven't put out a formal application process yet. There have been some people that have come to the table early, but we don't have our application process out there. We should have it hopefully by maybe mid-July, and the different pillars will roll out at different times. So there might be an opportunity to apply in the health one, and then maybe also in the infrastructure one. There's some different options there. It's hard for me to say if your presentation is going to be the best one out of the pile, and if it would qualify. That's the first test, is does it qualify? Does it fit the definition of what the ARPA money can be used for? Then we have to go to ranking them, and that's how we do things, whether we're picking out a new contractor or deciding where the money should go. To talk a little bit about what Charlotte mentioned, there are 2 pots of money with the marijuana tax, and you were talking about R3. That's the state money, and the county doesn't have a huge influence over that, and what I can say is that it really only affects like 1 precinct in Bolingbrook that qualified, so it's a very small sector. On the county level, our revenues, $1.8 million. We're looking at 2 different avenues. One would be to potentially put that money into a scholarship fund that the state schools in Will County could manage. They could actually handle the applications for scholarship. And then the other part of the money, there was discussion, and again, very high level, no decisions made yet, about the possibility of putting it into a revolving loan fund for entrepreneurs and small businesses. And again, there would probably be some application processes, some qualifications, certain audiences possibly being looked at, maybe ex-offenders. Who knows? We're not to that part yet. I will say we've had to work very hard to fight to protect that money, because the other side of the aisle wants to spend it on every little expense that comes up. And it's very interesting how they want to spend money when they're not the ones that are making the decisions. When it was their opportunity to spend the money on things like the Children's Advocacy Center, this is how much they gave to the CAC. As soon as the Democrats took over, all of a sudden, there was a big need to fund the CAC. So it's just kind of interesting. And it's not, we don't have a lot of partisan fights per se. We just have different views. I mean, because the things that we're talking about on the county board are not the things that they're talking about on the national level. We've had a few situations where certain board members have tried to bring things from the national level down to the board level, and unfortunately it was kind of messy. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for youth, for things for the youth, but I would say it needs to focus on more than just sports. I was raised here in Bolingbrook. I've been here since 1970. I was raised here. I raised my children here. My grandson and my soon-to-be granddaughter is going to be raised here. So I do care very much about what is available for the youth. And when I was growing up, this is what was available. There was nothing here. We barely got a Park District building by the time I was in high school. And everything at that point, and I don't know that it's all that much different right now. If you come from a family that doesn't make a lot of money, the Park District isn't for you, because everything they do is fee-driven. You have to pay the fees. And so I was kind of glad that the Park District decided it needed money, because that allowed the Forest Preserve to purchase Hidden Oaks and Hidden Lakes. And so we're going to make that into a preserve type area versus a park. And those are different things. They are different. They run preschool out of there. We're not going to be running preschool out of there. So it's going to be a different kind of an environment. And I was very happy to vote to purchase that property. And there was a lot of pushback, because there were people on the Forest Preserve that thought that we shouldn't have to pay for that. The land was ours originally. A lot of the costs involved with building it were grants. And so they thought that they should just give it to us. I knew we had to buy it. I knew the Park District needed funds, so that was really important. Because that is the only preserve now, when it gets fully transitioned, to be located within our district. And yet we pay millions and millions over the years in property taxes for the Forest Preserve, and we didn't have anything within our district. Whalen Lake, the lake is in our district, but the entrance is in District 10, or 9. You're 10. No, you're 9. It's in 10. Sorry, I still don't have the new numbers down. Very confusing. But I would like to see more than just sports for our youth, and I don't see anything that wouldn't benefit our community by having a youth center. Just want it to be diverse.
Hey, I just want to make a comment.
Hold it, one question. Anybody else have a question? Yeah, go first.
How you doing, Jackie? I had a question. I got an article the patch came out in 2018 about Mike Frisleon,
Mike Frizzlone?
who's currently still on the board. Will County paid $1.15 million to his company for supplies. He said this was not a conflict of interest. Will County didn't pay any money to his company prior to him taking the board position. Now we've been paying money. This is from 2018. He's still on the board. He's still in the finance committee. Has the county addressed this potential conflict of interest? And two, is the county still paying his company for those supplies?
I believe, and Jennifer can maybe correct me if I don't have the facts straight, but I believe he is retired.
Okay.
It was not his company, he was an employee.
Yeah, he was an employee, correct.
And he didn't have anything to do with the bid. The company bid on the new furniture for the courthouse. They came in at the lowest bid. Whether or not he recused himself, there was a committee that voted on that, and that committee voted yes.
Follow up to that.
No.
Go ahead.
Well, I got to follow up.
Let her, and
Go
then
ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify that the Park District, we do offer programs that are free for families. And to top it off, if you look at your tax bill, those here that are residents, very low cost, 42 cents compared to the school district. And the reason that it is like that is because we preserve what we have and we utilize what we already have. We don't keep buying or we don't hold funds back. We make sure that the taxpayers, their dollars are spent accordingly and they're budgeted accordingly. So if you look through our book, we went digital, we've saved money on all kinds of things during the pandemic. If you visit any of our parks, we have remodeled up to 10 parks. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify. She said it wasn't free. Hold on. I wanted to correct you because
There
you
are not a
said,
lot of free programs.
I understand that, but I needed to let them know that we do have stuff and we do have programs. and we do have free programs, and we have budgeted the dollars correctly. But I just wanted to clarify that.
No, nobody said you didn't budget it
I just
right.
wanted to clarify.
I just know a lot of their programs cost less than
Everything costs money,
I
but I
have no
need
idea
to
what free
clarify.
is. Anybody, I'm gonna give her extra time because we didn't want editorial on it. Any other questions
Well,
you have?
No, just
Yeah, go ahead, Otis. What do you want to follow up on?
just the article said, have we paid anything else to his company after this
Not that I
article
know
came
of.
out? Okay.
Not that I know
Did
of.
he?
You got the auditor standing right there.
Yeah, the first payment that went to Midwest Interiors, the auditor's office did bring that to the state's attorney immediately.
Okay.
Because we saw that, and the state's attorney's opinion was, like Jackie had said, he had filled out the forms right, the economic interest statement is now revised a little bit because now it's income from all sources, not ownership sources. So that's going to help out. He put NA, which it used to be called the NA form.
Okay.
But now it's NA, no, what else do you get? What other sources of income do you get generally? If he did have it, if he did it with the new revised, it would stick out like a sore thumb, even better. So that's one good thing the legislature here in Illinois has. So, yeah.
It
Good
did go
question.
to the state's attorney.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
And the state's attorney is the county board's attorney. So that's the person we go to for advice. We have a question.
Any other questions? Going once? Going twice? So, okay.